This debate was focused on issues very different from last week's chaotic presidential face-off. The pandemic played big, but it wasn't the only topic. So before we dive into the analysis, a taste of what was said.
From the very first day, President Donald Trump has put the health of America first.
Whatever the vice president is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked.
President Trump and I trust the American people to make choices in the best interest of their health. We're about freedom and respecting the freedom of the American people.
This administration stood on information that if you had as a parent, if you had as a worker knowing you didn't have enough money saved up, and now you're standing in a food line because of the ineptitude of an administration that was unwilling to speak the truth to the American people.
If the Trump administration approves a vaccine before or after the election, should Americans take it, and would you take it?
If the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it, absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Stop playing politics with people's lives.
The vice president earlier referred to, as part of what he thinks is an accomplishment, the president's trade war with China. You lost that trade war. You lost it.
Lost the trade war with China. Joe Biden never fought it. Joe Biden has been a cheerleader for communist China over the last several decades.
So this debate came with coronavirus in the White House. Americans dying, the economy struggling, politics paralyzed. That is the present. Pence and Harris went on stage to offer their visions for the future. Susan Ormiston was watching it from Washington. So, Susan?
Well, Adrienne, as you noted, the VP debate is not normally a must-see, but the 2020 campaign has been far from normal. And other than a referendum on Donald Trump, coronavirus is the leading issue in this election, and it led off tonight. Harris launched her attack.
Whatever the vice president is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked. When you're looking at over 210,000 dead bodies in our country, American lives that have been lost, families that are grieving.
Senator, I just ask you, stop playing politics with people's lives. The reality is that we will have a vaccine, we believe, before the end of this year.
So, Susan, compared to the wild tone last week, what's your sense of what it was like tonight?
Completely different. Pence even started off saying that it was an honor to be on stage with Senator Harris, and he praised her on her accomplishment being the first Black and South Asian woman nominated to a presidential ticket. So it kind of went on like that. There were fewer interruptions, much more substance. Adrienne, there's been so many extraordinary turns in the campaign just in the last few weeks, including the reporting on Donald Trump's personal income taxes, $750 a year, and that featured tonight.
We now know Donald Trump owes and is in debt for $400 million. And just so everyone is clear, when we say in debt, it means you owe money to somebody.
And the president said those public reports are not accurate. And the president's also released literally stacks of financial disclosures.
So the months of protests that we've seen over racial justice and injustice, how did they deal with that tonight?
Yeah, it came up. Law and order, of course, a key plank of the Trump campaign, and they've cast Joe Biden as soft on violence. So Harris stepped up on that one.
Bad cops are bad for good cops. We need reform of our policing in America and our criminal justice system, which is why Joe and I will immediately ban chokeholds and carotid holds. George Floyd would be alive today if we did that.
There's no excuse for what happened to George Floyd, and justice will be served. But there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting that followed.
Donald Trump is not here, of course, but he is in the audience at home tweeting his support, saying, Pence won big exclamation mark. Each had some strong moments, Adrienne, with Biden in the lead. Part of Harris's job was to do no harm, and Pence's job, well, it was to steady the ship after a particularly raucous few weeks. And pundits are already saying that it was a pretty even night tonight, Adrienne.
All right, Susan Ormiston in Washington tonight. Thanks, Susan. Television debates are about perception as much as policy, projecting strength and confidence. For the presidential debate, we went to a pro-Trump Republican viewing party. Well, tonight, Stephen D'Souza is in the Democratic stronghold of Brooklyn, New York, where Democratic supporters shared their thoughts on how Kamala Harris performed. Stephen?
Adrienne, this is a crowd that was always going to be in favor of Kamala Harris. The question is, did she do enough to excite the base and hold Mike Pence accountable? I have Jordan and Scott here. What do you think of how Kamala Harris did tonight?
I think she did very well. She answered all the questions firmly, gracefully, with a lot of fact behind them, and just calling Pence out and the Trump administration on how they've been handling the coronavirus situation.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I feel like she stood firm on. She was a little shaky at the beginning, but once she got into a rhythm, of how the questions were being asked and how Pence's responses were, she just got better and better as she went along.
How do you think she did? How do you think she handled herself? And in terms of just any moments that really stood out for you?
I think the best was there was a moment where Pence had put out some information about the coronavirus and about her record as a prosecutor, and she made sure she reclaimed her time and she made sure that she had as much time as he did to question her, to respond. And she was very firm. She was very solid. She set the record straight, made sure all the facts were on the table, and I think it brought a good presence to the people to make sure that she could handle her own.
Do you think this will change people's minds? Not necessarily in this area, but in other places in swing states where there could be people on the fence.
Possibly, there's been worry about what will happen to Biden, because he or Trump will be one of the oldest presidents in office, and I think just her being calm, cool, collected, answering all the questions with authority makes her a bit of a stronger leader. But at the end of the day, I think just everyone should vote. So that's.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there was, like she was saying, a lot of question. She's wavered and waffled a little bit in some debates going into this. Once again, as she warmed up, she got better and better all the way through. And I think for anyone who kind of debated, God forbid, if something happened to Joe Biden, that she wouldn't be a strong leader, I think she quashed all those potential downfalls and, has shown that she'll be a strong candidate.
So thank you very much, Scott and Jordan. So that is a view here from Brooklyn, a very well-received debate and a strong performance from Kamala Harris.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Stephen D'Souza at a Democratic watch party in Brooklyn tonight.